Welcome to Pound for Pound, the MMA podcast. And now, coming to the mic, your host, Jamey-Lyn Walker.
Welcome to Pound for Pound, the MMA podcast. I'm your host, Jamey-Lyn Walker. We have a lot to unpack today, as always. Interesting fight card tonight, UFC Vegas 15. First off, Derek Lewis versus Curtis Blaydes, as the main event has been canceled and replaced with Anthony Smith versus Devin Clark. Blaydes tested positive for COVID-19, which is very, very unfortunate. The Lewis versus Blaydes fight is looking to be rescheduled for January. Early January, late January, we're not sure yet. Also in combat sports tonight, Iron Mike Tyson at the age of 54 will be fighting Roy Jones Jr. at the age of 51 in an 8-round expedition. This is Tyson's first time fighting since 2015 and RJJ's first time fighting since 2018. Who will come out with the win? We will find out. And who will be knocked out if they're actually going to knock somebody out. We're going to find that out also. James Krause and Shaquan Buckley, they've been going at it on social media. Buckley called him out after his KO victory last weekend against Jordan Wright. Krause says he has requested the fight twice, but now Dana that has been informed, he should be getting a deal on that. But we'll break it all down and get into that a little bit more. Also, UFC 255 results. What a great night of fights. Valentina Shevchenko held on to her women's flyweight belt in an impressive fashion against Jennifer Maia. And Lord have mercy, did Figueiredo look good against Alec Perez. Absolutely stunning, professional. Got the job done quickly and effectively. He submitted Perez in the first round to hold on to that flyweight belt. And he could be the flyweight champ that the UFC has been looking for, and it looks like the flyweight division's here to stay, and I'm happy for that. Also, Deiveson Figueiredo got his $50K bonus personally from Dana White after he was snubbed for the performance of the night bonus. But we'll break it all down and much, much more. But first, support for Pound MMA podcast comes from Manscaped, who is the best in men's below-the-belt grooming. Manscaped offers precision-engineered tools for your family jewels. Are you looking for the perfect gift for your partner this holiday season? We have the perfect package for his perfect package. The Perfect Package 3.0 by Manscaped is the #1 recommended gift all year long. Inside, you'll find their Lawnmower 3.0, which is the best men's below-the-belt grooming trimmer, which can also be used on any part of the body. Hairy chest or back? Look no further. Hair down there? The Manscaped Lawnmower 3.0 is designed to reduce cuts and make for a smooth trim. This 7,000 RPM trimmer has helped reduce manscaping accidents across the world. In addition, you'll find other liquid formations inside the perfect package, like the Crop Preserver Ball Deodorant, Crop Reviver Ball Toner, and Reduced Chafing Boxer Briefs. These formulations are all vegan, cruelty-free, dye-free, sulfate-free, and paraben-free, so you know your manhood is in good hands. Save 20% off and plus free shipping with code POUND4POUND at manscaped.com. That's 20% off plus free shipping with code POUND4POUND at manscaped.com. Give your testes the besties with Manscaped. All right, thank you, Manscaped. On to the guest for today. The guest on the show today is one of Canada's top prospects at women's flyweight division. She's a skilled fighter with a pro record of 4-0 and is also the BFL women's flyweight champion. She fights out of the Sound Martial Arts in British Columbia. I'd like to introduce to the podcast Jamey-Lyn Horth. How's it going, Jamie?
Hey, I'm good. How are you?
Doing great. Thanks for coming on the show. Excited to talk to you. So you're originally from British Columbia. What part exactly?
Squamish, BC, right in between Vancouver and Whistler.
Okay, is that a big population, a small population?
Not very big. It's gotten a lot bigger recently, but it's a pretty small town.
Okay, cool. How's it living out there? Is it cold? Is it mild? What's the environment like?
It's the West Coast, so we're pretty rainy.
Okay.
It's usually like today it's like around 5-6 degrees out and it gets pretty overcast. It's actually gorgeous today, a little bit of cloud. be a nice day to go for a dog walk.
Nice. So you're fighting out of the Sound Martial Arts, which is also in British Columbia. I assume that's in Squamish, correct? Also?
Yeah.
Who are your coaches and what's the environment at that gym?
Well, the Sound Martial Arts, head coach and owner Casey Smith, who's also my fiance, and his brother Cole Smith. So out of the gym, those would be my two coaches here in Squamish. I also have a striking coach in Pitt Meadows, Dan Golkar at Scorpion MMA, and then I have a strength and conditioning coach, and it's Jesse Bufano at Squamish Barbell, and that's pretty much my team.
It's a solid team. It sounds like. Seems like you got everything unlocked in that division. So you've been fighting professionally for a little under 2 years. What made you get into MMA?
Honestly, I get asked this question quite often. I went to school with Cole Smith.
Okay.
Before I started playing or doing any sort of martial arts stuff, and they just were doing some small training sessions at a gym in town, renting some space. And I've always played high level sports, so they invited me to come, him and his brother Casey. And they said, once you come in, you'll never leave. So here I am, still stuck in the gym and constantly looking for something next and better to do.
Yep. And you're undefeated with your pro record at 4-0, 3 TKOs, 1 submission. I'm not sure how many fights. I can only find 3 amateurs, and every time I do this, I never get all the fights because Tapology never gets them all up. But do you have 3 or more fights amateur?
That's it. That's what I have.
Okay, so I
turned pro because there was just nobody around to fight.
Okay. So you're technically 7-0 right now.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
And one kickboxing fight, but it's not on there.
Okay. Was that amateur or pro? Was that
amateur?
Amateur. Nice. Is there more pressure every time you fight since you're undefeated, or is that kind of just fade into the back of your mind?
Honestly, there's 2 options: you win or you lose. You know what I mean? So everyone's coming in with a game plan, and obviously my game plan is to never lose. But I don't dwell on the fact that if that was to happen, that it would have tampered with my record. You know what I mean? Each fight is a new fight, and you move on to the next one and the next one and the next one. So it's like being 1-0 every time you fight. For sure.
So you always think about the fight in the moment, and I think that's how most fighters that are undefeated look at the situation, not really think about the record, because if you do get a loss, you get a loss. It's not the biggest thing, you know what I mean? And you're going to grow from it. So I do think other fighters have that same mentality. Most of your amateur fights have come out of the BFL, and if people don't know what that is a Battlefield Fight League. What was your biggest advantage fighting with BFL?
My biggest advantage?
Yes. What you got? The best experience you got from it? What you took from it?
I mean, I've had 3 great experiences that are memorable to me with Battlefield. I mean, being from Vancouver, this company, which is like a rock throw away for me, it's pretty close to my hometown. So, like I said, Squamish is small, so I've always been supported so well from this community. And to have an event so close, to be able to have people come and be a part of that is really amazing. I won the amateur belt back in 2017, 2018. And then I was one of the first females. I was the first female to headline a main event for Battlefield Fight League and then win the pro belt. So, I've got 3 pretty big staples that I'm pretty proud of. So that's pretty cool.
Because you fought actually in the first women's championship for BFL, and that's the fight you're talking about.
The first women's pro belt, championship belt, but I also was the first woman's fight to headline
a main
ever
event
for Battlefield Fight League.
That's awesome. That's so cool. But your pro debut, before we get into the belt, was in March of 2018, where you defeated. Let me see if I can pronounce this right. Coralie Dixon. Coralie Dixon, yes, via TKO in round 2. Tell me a little bit about that fight.
As an amateur, all my fights have gone the full distance. So for me, turning to pro, really kind of turned a corner for me. I think I got to use a little bit more of the tools that I've always prepared myself with. So when that time came, I was going up against someone who was a high level wrestler. So we prepared for that. I brought in some Team Canada wrestlers, and I wrestled a little bit with a few ex wrestlers there, and it was a really great experience. Like I always consider fighting to be like a split personality, like an alter ego, because I never really remember what I'm doing during that time until after and I watch it. So, to go back and look at it and like to see myself like get a finish in the second round, it was pretty cool.
Yeah, I bet for sure. Having only fought for under 2 years, your last pro fight was in February of this year at BFL 65, where you defeated Jade Mason Wong, where you got the title, and it was the main event. How does it feel not having fought in so long? You've gone almost this entire year without having another fight. Has that affected your training? Has that affected your mindset? How have you stayed sharp?
Well, I was supposed to fight in October, and then that got postponed till November for Contender Series. So, after my fight in February, we thought the Contenders was going to be a lot sooner. My agency was pretty adamant that, we would hopefully get a chance at that. So, I kind of had some small end goals, I guess you could say, so that, kind of kept me motivated. I mean, 90% of the time when I'm not fighting, I'm still in fight shape. I'm always training. I'm always ready. Like, fitness is just a huge part of my life. So for me to just sit around and not be prepared or ready all the time, it's very slim to none. But like after not getting the chance to be able to go fight at Contenders, mentally it's a little bit frustrating. You kind of dial back a bit. You're not grinding as much as you were in like a regular fight camp, but I'm always consistently training and I'm always preparing and being ready for whatever opportunities come my way.
Yeah, and the reason you weren't able to fight in Contender Series, which is unfortunate, you were denied a visa due to the COVID thing. They said you have lack of recognition. I don't understand the strict COVID-19 regulations, but you were supposed to fight Chelsea Hackett, correct?
Correct.
Yeah, and she just lost on the final episode of Contender Series this season. But I just think that was dumb because I think there's some other organizations that'll let fighters fight in America without visas. So I don't know what was going on with that, and that's really unfortunate because I did see you and I did message you back in October, and I was excited to try to get you on the show. And then just that really sucks.
Yeah, I wasn't the only one. I know there was another teammate of mine from Checkmat in Vancouver, Achilles. He was in the same boat. And then Casey was just saying recently that Peter Yan was having a hard time getting a visa to fight. So,
and it's
know what I mean? Like, they're just, who knows what it is.
Yeah, like, he's the champ. Like, why can't he get a visa? Like,
it's kind of weird.
What is happening? Everyone knows who he is. Like, yeah, it's ridiculous. So have you been looking for any other organizations at the moment to fight with, or are you sticking to try to stay on the UFC shortlist?
To be honest, I mean, everything's kind of up in the air right now with traveling and stuff. My Iridium's been great. There's a few organizations, CFFC, LFA, and then one called LFA. Icon in Mexico. Yep. That there may be some potential opportunities. So we're definitely looking into seeing what we can get there and then making a plan and going with that.
Yeah, I know LFA is accepting some of the PFL fighters because the PFL fighters were allowed to put their contracts on hold and fight for other organizations. So I know LFA took some of those PFL fighters. But yeah, that's interesting. I do hope you can get out there. I know times are hard, but we all love fighting. We love seeing fights. And I think, honestly, the UFC, Bellator, and everyone is what's been kind of keeping the sports world together when it was gone and when it was dispersed, and they helped bring it back, especially the UFC and that. So I hope you get the fight soon and we get more fights and everything keeps rolling pretty smooth. So before I let you go, I wanted to know who you had in tonight's main card, Anthony Smith or Devin Clark. I know it's a new main event. It was supposed to be the co-main event. It's a good fight. It's Anthony Smith's 7th consecutive main event, so he's been here before. He's fought 5-round fights. But what do you think?
I think I'll take Anthony on this one, lucky number 7. So,
yeah.
I always say, like, there's no such thing as good luck because luck's for the unprepared, but, lucky number 7. So let's go with Anthony.
Yeah, I think I'm going to be going the same for that. He has the experience. I think this was a small blessing for him so he can keep that consecutive streak at main event. And I think he's pumped now for it. And it's a good card. We got some other Contender Series fighters like Josh Parisian fighting, who I'm excited to see at heavyweight, like Spike Carlisle and other stuff like that. Do you have anybody on the card or prelims that you're rooting for in particular?
No, not this one.
Not this
last card was pretty good to watch the girls fight Shevchenko and stuff. I'm
awesome.
not sexist by all means, but the women's fights are pretty freaking interesting. So
yeah, I was very shocked that Shevchenko did not get the main event. I was very shocked that she was the co-main. I didn't understand that. Figueiredo's great. I respect him and all, but it's Shevchenko. It's the bullet. Like, how are they going to do that to her?
Totally.
Yeah, but
totally.
It's all good. I mean, it was great fights. 2 championship fights in one night. You can't ask for much more. So
yeah,
we got a lot more. Before I let you go, I always try to ask people this. What do you think of Khamzat versus Leon Edwards coming up at the end of December?
I'll have to look a little bit more into that one. I'm not sure.
Okay. Khamzat's on the rise right now.
I usually bet with Casey quite a bit. I've been winning most of them, so I always let him choose, and then I always take whoever. And he's been passing over $20 bills recently, so I can't say yet. I got to do a little more research on that one before I make a decision.
For sure. Well, thanks for coming on the show. Best of luck to you, and look forward to seeing you fight soon.
Thank you so much.
See ya.
Bye.
That was Jamey-Lyn Horth out of the Sound Martial Arts in Squamish, British Columbia. Thank you for coming on the show. Excited to see her in the up-and-coming future. All right, on to some news. UFC 255 results. Deiveson Figueiredo versus Alex Perez was the main event, as we were just mentioning, with Valentina Shevchenko and Jennifer Maia at the co-main event. It started out with Shogun versus Paul Craig. Paul Craig got the TKO on Marcio Rua, also known as Shogun, in the second round, 3 minutes and 36 seconds. Kelly Chukagian defeated Cynthia Calvillo for the decision in round 3. That was a 3-round fight. And Mike Perry lost by decision to Tim Means, also a 3-round fight. And for the co-main event, Shevchenko versus Jennifer Maia. Shevchenko looked amazing, but got to get my hats off to Jennifer Maia. She went the full 5 rounds with the bullet. Not a lot of people can do that. She showed her grit. Her stock definitely went up after that fight. My hat's off to Jennifer Maia, but congratulations, Valentina, for defending your flyweight women's championship. And the main event, wow, Deiveson Figueiredo versus Alex Perez. Alex Perez, the first Contender Series alum to fight for a title in UFC history. He looked great, but all in all, Figueiredo submitted him. Figueiredo looked clean, fast, smooth, elegant, all at once. He's getting better every fight, and very, very excited to see him in this title run and see how long he can keep it going. Congratulations, Shevchenko and Figueiredo, on defending your titles. All right, on to the Derek Lewis Curtis Blaydes. According to multiple sources speaking to MMA Fighting on Friday, Blaydes tested positive for COVID-19, which obviously forced the UFC fighter to cancel the main event. There's early talks about rescheduling the heavyweight fight for a later date in December or January, but nothing has been determined yet. It sucks. I was really looking forward to this fight. It's all good. We'll get it here eventually. We still got Khamzat Leon Edwards coming up this month. Next month in January, we'll have Curtis Blaydes, Derek Lewis with Dustin Poirier and Conor McGregor. Some big names coming up, and some less known names that are making their way in the UFC in between all these fights. As always, when you come to the show, we'll break it all down and let you guys know what to look for. But very disappointed in Lewis versus Blaydes being canceled. I wish nothing but the best for Blaydes, and hopefully he gets healthy and can test negative for COVID-19. James Krause versus Jaquan Barkley. We broke it down a little bit. Basically, all I want to say now, they've been going at it, but James Krause has supposedly been requesting a fight twice with Jaquan Buckley. Dana, after he saw the fight and Jaquan Buckley was talking to media saying all this, he was like, I didn't know anything about this, just now coming to my attention. So I think Dana said he'll make the fight if they both want it, but Jaquan Buckley's management just got back to the UFC, I believe, and saying he's only focused on middleweight fights, which makes sense for him. I don't really see an advantage in fighting James Krause. I respect James Krause, but I think Jaquan Buckley's at the point now where he needs to start fighting people in at least the top 15 of the top 10 to see really what he's worth. I mean, we got Khamzat fighting Leon Edwards. Khamzat's ranked 15. Leon Edwards is ranked 3. So there's no excuse. Give Jaquan Buckley a shot. I say 2 to 3 fights, he'll be at the title shot, 100%. Jaquan Buckley is the real deal. He's putting people out, man. He put what's his name out this past weekend in impressive fashion. You know what I mean? He has the skills, and he's a dynamic fighter and someone that I want to watch and I'm looking forward to watch. So I hope the UFC sees his potential and gets him in there. And if you don't know Jaquan Buckley, you probably saw him on ESPN about a month or so ago. He threw a kick, guy caught it. He did a spinning back kick, hit the guy in the face, knocked him out. Go check it out if you haven't. Jaquan Buckley's the real deal, and looking forward to seeing what he's going to do next. And now what most people have been talking about, Iron Mike Tyson versus Roy Jones Jr. tonight on Thriller. Mike Tyson is age 54, fighting RJJ at 51. As I mentioned, this is an 8-round expedition. This is Tyson's first time fighting since 2005 and RJJ's first time fighting since 2018. The card goes for the main event. You got Vidal Riley versus Rashad Coulter. The next fight I'm actually really looking forward to. This should have been the co-main event. Badu Jack versus Blake McKerman. Badu Jack is the guy that was in a boxing match last year. He got hit so hard it split from his whole forehead open. The ref was covered in blood. He fought the whole fight, kept going. That's a true legend of the sport right there. Excited to see him fight at light heavyweight. That's also 8 rounds. And then we got Jake Paul versus Nate Robinson at cruiserweight, 6 rounds. I wasn't super pumped about this fight at first, but I saw some footage of Jake Paul sparring, and it changed my opinion of him. In the boxing games, I'll say at least. But Nate Robinson's been kind of quiet. Nate Robinson might come out here and put this man on his back early. So, very excited to see what's going to happen there. But I think everyone is all tuning in tonight for the Mike Tyson's RJJ fight. We're all very excited. Mike Tyson's favored at minus 220 versus Roy Jones Jr.'s plus 170. You can get a draw at plus 1 or at plus 1,200 right now, and then the over-under 7.5 rounds. The over is at 150, plus 150, and the under is at minus 180. So some interesting betting odds. Mike Tyson's obviously the favorite. Nothing too spectacularly crazy. But yeah, tonight starts at 9 p.m. The main card does. It's at Staples Center, Los Angeles. And then you can get the fight on Tyson on Triller.com or Fight TV, FITE, and it's $50. But yeah, Mike Tyson, baby. He's back. Iron Mike. Very excited to see him fight. And Roy Jones Jr. is also Superman. He's a legend of the sport. But I'm not going to lie if I wouldn't say I'm not rooting for Iron Mike. Tyson all the way, baby. All right. Now let's break down this UFC fight card tonight. UFC Vegas 15. New main event, as we mentioned, Anthony Smith versus Devin Clark. It's a 6-fight card for the main events. We got Jonathan Pierce versus Kai Kamaka at featherweight. Jonathan Pierce is 9-4. Pierce is coming off his first round knockout loss to Joe Lunson back in October of 2019. This snapped his previous 5-fight winning streak. He has 7 wins by knockout, 1 by submission, and 1 by decision. He also has 1 first-round finish by knockout. The 6-foot-tall KO artist, Jonathan Pierce, will look to capitalize on his height and 71-inch reach. Out of 9 wins in his pro MMA career, Pierce has knocked out 7 opponents. Thus far, he has landed a whopping 11.21 strikes per minute. Pierce will move ahead with huge shots, pressurizing Kamaka to get the W. Yeah, I think if he gets this dub, he'll be in the top 15. That's all I'll say about that. I think he needs it. He'll get it. It's looking good for him. Kai Kamaka, he's 8-2. They call him the Fighting Hawaiian. He's currently 6-fight winning streak, stepping into this one on short notice. His most recent bouts We're back in August with the decision win over Tony Kelly. You know, he debuted in UFC in August to beat Tony Kelly through a unanimous decision. He's a solid grappler. He dominates opponents with equal display of stand-up and ground game. I think Jonathan Pierce could win this fight if he's hungry enough because he wants to get in the top 15. But I think Kai Kamaka is going to take this fight, unfortunately for Jonathan JSP. Kai Kamaka has very impressive striking and grappling game, and he looked great in that fight against Tony Kelly. So I'm going to go Kamaka wins via decision. All right, Ashley Evans-Smith versus Norma Dumont. Women's bantamweight, you know, Ashley Evans-Smith, she's 6-4-0. Evans-Smith is coming into this fight after a tough decision loss in February of 2019 against Andrea Lee. She has only won once out of her last 4 bouts. She has 3 wins by knockout and 3 by decision. In each of her knockout victories, the fight made it to the 3rd round, though. So that's very interesting. It's very, very interesting stat. Not a lot of people can do that. It's very technical. You don't know if you'll be gassed in the 3rd round. If it's only a 3-round fight, you got to finish it in that 3rd round. So that's very impressive. Her opponent, Norma Dumont, is 4-1. She's also known as the Immortal. But Norma steps into this fight after her first loss back in February. This bout was a first-round knockout defeat against Megan Anderson. She has 2 wins by submission and 2 by decision. In both of her submission victories, Norma was able to end those fights in the 1st round. Norma was out of action for 1.5 years and stepped in to face Megan Anderson. And that fight, which we were just talking about, was in February. It's difficult to get a clear idea of Norma's potential because there isn't much pre-UFC footage of her, and she spent most of her Anderson fight just holding her against the fence. So very, very interesting. You know, Norma's 4-1. She typically looks for the submission win, and if she's unsuccessful, she'll still have the decision on her side, I think. Given that Evans-Smith roughly averages close to 12 minutes of fight time, this one has the likelihood of going the distance. However, Norma's strategy of takedown means there's an excellent chance for the fight to end in submission, and that's what I'm going to go with. I'm going to go with Norma the Immortal wins via decision. Not going to call the round, just wins via decision. Spike Carlisle versus Bill Algeo. Man, Spike Carlisle is a character. If you don't know the Alpha Ginger, go look this man up. He is one funny dude, man. Go look at the weigh-ins. That's all I'll say. He's 9-2-0. Carlisle's coming off a tough unanimous decision loss to Billy Quarantillo back in May. This marks his 2nd only decision loss on his record. He has 5 wins by knockout, 3 by submission, and 1 by decision. He also has 7 first-round finishes with 5 knockouts leading the way. He only has 2 UFC bouts on his resume so far, but despite entering the world of MMA, he has 4 consecutive wins. You know, Spike Carlisle 9-2 found himself as an underdog against Contender Series standout Alon Cruz in his debut, only to flip the script with an 85-second knockout. Then came Billy Quarantillo, who outlasted the Alpha Ginger en route to a close decision victory. The Alpha Ginger's opponent is Bill Algeo. He's 13-5. He's also known as Senor Perfecto. Algeo is coming off a unanimous decision loss. That bout was back in August against Ricardo Lamas, and it marked the 3rd straight decision fight he participated in. He has 3 wins by knockout, 6 by submission, and 4 by decision. He also has 2 first-round finishes on his resume, with both of them coming from submissions. Bill Algeo is, he had a 4-fight win streak at one point. This is what it's hard because I see some of his stats and I see what he can do, but I don't think it'd be enough to take the Alpha Ginger. Alpha Ginger is explosive. He's dominant. He's just a character, and he's just a wonky fighter. And just like Dominic Cruz was a wonky fighter, that's how I feel about Spike Carlisle. I'm not comparing him to Dominic Cruz in any way, but I'm just saying he's a funky fighter. He's very interesting to watch. And just because I like the way he fights, I guess, and he's entertaining, I'm going to go Carlisle wins via decision. I don't think he'll get a knockout. I think they'll both go the distance. Senor Perfecto stands 4 inches taller than Carlisle and will enjoy a 2.5-inch reach advantage. But I don't think that's going to stop Spike Carlisle. Yeah, I got him winning via decision. Excuse me. All right, on to the next fight. Josh Parisian, a Contender Series alum, against Parker Porter at heavyweight. Parisian is currently on a 6-fight winning streak coming into this matchup. His most recent victory was against Chad Johnson back in August that resulted in a first-round knockout win. And no, not 85 Chad Johnson. I know. It's funny to see Chad Johnson's name in MMA. He has 10 wins by knockout, 2 by submission, 1 by decision. And out of Parisian's 13th victory, he also has 8 knockouts that have resulted in first-round finishes. This man is nasty and deadly. Parisian will be making his debut in the UFC after successfully landing 2 victories in 2 different seasons of the Dana White's Contender Series. The most recent showing back in August earned him a spot on this card. Before that bout, Parisian got another round 1 TKO against Marcus Maulding at WXC 86 in January. The rookie UFC fighter has competed at Aries Fighting Championship, Motor City Cage Fights, Lights Out Championships 2, LFA, King of the Cage, TWC Pro Series, and much more. We don't have to get into all of them. So he has the experience. His opponent is Parker Porter at 10-6-0. Porter is coming off a TKO loss back in August against Chris Dacas. That bout snapped his previous 2-fight winning streak. He has 4 wins by knockout, 4 by submission, and 2 by decision. He also has 3 first-round finishes with a combination of 2 submissions and 1 knockout. In the previous loss discussed above, that was also his octagon debut for the UFC. That bout only lasted close to 5 minutes into the first round before ultimately being down by TKO. Porter's last win happened in September of 2019 against, I'm going to botch this, Dorelli Bronenstrup. I believe that's how you pronounce it, at CES MMA 58. In that match, the 6-foot fighter defeated Bronenstrup in round 3 by TKO. Over this 13-year fighting career, Porter has competed in reality fighting, Bellator, XFC, World Championship Fighting, and Combat Zone promotions. Both of these fighters are looking to make statements as they make their way into this matchup. They will both be looking good. These are technical fighters. In Porter's debut, he was already outstruck 37-17 before ultimately being knocked out. So that does kind of weigh into my mind. It weighs in my mind heavy, actually. So I actually have to take Josh Parisian for TKO here. Probably the second round if he gets lucky first, but most likely beginning of the second round. But we'll see. We will see. All right, co-main event, Miguel Beza versus Takashi Sato at welterweight. Miguel Beza, a.k.a. Caramel Thunder. Cannot make this up. His nickname is Caramel Thunder. He's 9-0, though, so you got to respect the name. You know what I mean? If you're 9-0, you can be called whatever you want. But Beza is stepping into this one with an undefeated winning streak of 9 fights. His most recent bout was against Matt Brown in May, which resulted in an early TKO second-round finish. He has 7 wins by knockout and 2 by decision. Out of his 9 wins total, he has 4 knockouts that have resulted in first-round finishes. Before he made the jump to the UFC, Caramel Thunder, Beza, we'll call him Beza. We're going to stop calling him Caramel Thunder. He competed in Dana White's Contender Series and much, much more. We're not even going to name all the organizations he was with, but he likes to use takedown inside the cage. He kind of has a submission game, but man, exciting to see if he can hold this record. I always love seeing undefeated fighters. His opponent is Takashi Sato at 16-3-0. His nickname is 10, T-E-N. Simple. I like it. Sato's coming off an incredible 48-second first-round knockout performance heading into this fight. That bout was back in June against Jason Witt. He was 11 wins by knockout. He has 11 wins by knockout, 2 by submission, and 3 by decision. He also has 10 first-round finishes, with 9 of those being knockouts. Sato is coming up into the UFC Apex with a professional fighting record of 16-3, and he's 30-year-old from Japan, and he last fought in July at UFC on ESPN. And in that contest, he actually defeated Jason Witt in round 1. As we mentioned, it was a beautiful fight. It's very interesting to see how he strikes and what punches were landing and landing effectively. But we'll see. Unlike his opponent, Santo has a better takedown average per 15 minutes, I believe. He's more at that 50% range. So we'll see what happens. We will see what happens. But both fighters are coming off great performances. However, the market is slightly favoring Blaydes since he's probably undefeated. But I'm gonna take Takashi Sato at 16-3. He's got more experience. He's got 10 more fights than him. And the Carmel Thunder name is just throwing me off a little bit. I'm not even gonna lie to you guys. I'm gonna take Takashi Sato via TKO. You know what? We're gonna say first round. I think he's just gonna come out and try to make a statement against this guy that's undefeated, and it's gonna be awesome. All right. Now for the main event, Anthony Smith versus Devin Clark at light heavyweight. This is the new main event. This was originally the co-main event. Now it's 5 rounds, I believe. I'm not sure if that's true or not. It could be 3, but let me check. Main event, it does not say. They'll probably tell us tonight when it starts, but we'll see. Anthony Smith, like I was saying to Jamie, this is his 7th consecutive main event. He's 33-16. Lionheart Smith is currently on a 2-fight skid heading into this matchup. The 6th-ranked fighter in the light heavyweight division has only won 1 fight out of his last 4, dating back to 2019. He has 18 wins by knockout, 12 by submission, 2 by decision, and 1 by other. Out of his 33-win total, he has 16 of those resulting in first-round finishes with a combined effort of knockouts and submissions. He's on a 2-match losing streak. This is also the 3rd bout in 2020, with the latest taking place in August. At UFC Fight Night 175, Lionheart Smith lost to Alexander Rakic by unanimous decision. Before that fight, Smith took on Glover Teixeira at UFC Fight Night 171 in May of 2019, where the Oma native went the distance but lost in round 5 by TKO. Lionheart lands 2.97 strikes per minute with 46% accuracy. He absorbs a significant amount of strikes per minute at 4.43, while his defense is at 42%. When it comes to grappling, Smith has a 0.41 takedown advantage per 15 minutes and 25% takedown accuracy. His opponent, Devin Clark, is 12-4-0. Clark is coming into this fight with a 2-fight decision win streak. Both of those bouts have been in 2020, with the most recent one dating back to June. He has 3 wins by knockout, 1 by submission, and 8 by decision. He also has 2 first-round finishes, 1 each for knockout and submission. Clark comes to the UFC Apex with a professional fighting record of 12-4, as mentioned, and a 2-match winning streak. Just like his opponent, this is Brown Bear, as his nickname, Clark 3rd bout in 2020. The 32-year-old from South Dakota last fought in June at UFC 250. The 6-foot fighter defeated Alonzo Menifield by unanimous decision, and a majority of Clark's victories over his career have come by decision. Clark is a multi-face fighter who can throw punches and wrestle on the mat. You know, it's no secret that Smith has had a rough few fights recently. Even since his title fight loss to John Jones back in 2018, he just has not looked the same. The fight is a pivotal one for both fighters, I believe. Smith has to win here to be a competitive fighter for the division, while Clark will have his biggest challenge yet. Overall, Clark should take this with his wrestling and look to dominate that way. This also could go the distance, as he typically makes his fights last long. You know, it kills me to say this, and I'm sorry, Anthony Smith. I love the Lionheart, but I think Clark wins this via decision. We're going to get a great fight, and it's going to be awesome. I really think it will be, and I'm looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to this whole card. I'm looking forward to Tyson versus Roy Jones Jr. Big fights tonight, man. Big fights all over the place. But make sure you guys at least check out some of them. You know, UFC tonight starts at 10 p.m. the main card. The preliminary card starts at 7 p.m., so there will be some overlapping with the Mike Tyson fight. But yeah, figure it out. Get on 2 TVs if you can. If you're really about it, you know you want to watch it. I highly recommend watching these fights tonight. They're going to be pretty spectacular. Before we go, just want to mention Manscaped again. Manscaped, I believe you actually can get 25% off right now, plus free shipping with code pound for pound at manscaped.com because of the Black Friday sale. So go ahead and check that out. I think it's not 20%. It is 25% right now. And the Cyber Monday deal will be coming here on Monday or Sunday night. Check my Instagram for that. But yeah, use code pound for either 20% off or 25% off plus free shipping with code pound for pound. And that's at manscaped.com. Appreciate you guys tuning in today. And enjoy the fights tonight. I'll catch you guys later. Thanks.